Hello, I'm Holly and it's another month, which means that it is again time for the novel TBR game. If you're brand new to my channel, this is my monthly TBR game. It's how I figure out the books that I'm going to be reading each month. And before we get into this month's roll, let's have a little look at last month's TBR. So this was my TBR for March. We had Pest Control by Bill Fitzhugh, which was a horror, thriller or mystery that was a used book. Then we have The Bastard of Istanbul by Elif Shafak, which was a randomly generated number on Goodreads. We also had Dracula by Bram Stoker, which was a horror, thriller or mystery that was a favourite, so to reread a favourite. We also had A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas, which was a TBR jar pick. And then finally we had the next chunk of Les Mis by Victor Hugo, which was a classic from an author I have read before. Now, I haven't read all of these, but I'm going to make a rule just for the next few months that if I don't complete my TBR, I don't have to take a punishment. I am coming to the end of my degree. My degree finishes in June, so it's kind of like the most stressful point of my educational career or educational life. And I feel like I can't be putting extra pressures on me. So I am going to still try and read my TBR, but if I don't get to all the books, I'm not going to punish myself with a random TBR jar pick. So I have read these two. I started Pest Control, I DNF'd it, didn't like it. And then I tried to read The Bastard of Istanbul, but the font in that book is so small, and it is still a book that I really want to get to at some point, but I think I'm going to have to get an ebook copy or just another edition. The writing is unreadable for me. And then the final book is Dracula, which I haven't started yet, but there are still a few more days of the month when I'm filming this, so I'm hoping to at least start that one. So I wouldn't consider it a complete failure, but I didn't really complete it. We're just going to move on. So let's look at roll number 1 for April. Hello and welcome to another round of the novel TBR game, and this month I want fantasy, I want sci-fi, maybe a non-fiction. Hopefully the board is nicer to me than it was last month, but of course let's first of all find our starting position. Let's roll this one. Let's start there. Okay then, roll number 1. A 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, a sci-fi. And the prompt. Please be nice to me. If I can even open it. Oh. A new to me author. Roll number 1 was a sci-fi from a new to me author, and for that I've picked The Humans by Matt Haig. I've heard fantastic things about this author. I've been hearing fantastic things for years, and last year another of his books was released, which was The Midnight Library, which is also a book that I'm really interested in. So this is the one that I own. This follows this alien who comes to Earth, and he's not very impressed by what he sees. I feel like he might be coming to see if humanity is worth saving or something. I'm not entirely sure, but it was one of my goals this year to read a book from Matt Haig. It was on my 21 books I want to read in 2021. But yeah, it's quite short and I've heard fantastic things, so I'm hoping that I end up loving this one. Roll number 2. A double, and that is a 12. I don't think I've ever had that before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A non-fiction or a poetry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A historical fiction or a contemporary. So I have a non-fiction that I really want to get onto this month. I have a historical fiction that I want to get onto this month. I'm thinking we're going to go with historical fiction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So a historical fiction. And the prompt Red on the cover. Role number 2 was a historical fiction with red on the cover, and for that I'm going with The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. This was actually the pick for this new book club that is linked to my library. So my library is part of the Better Libraries group, which is this massive, like, I can't think of the word, like a conglomerate of libraries, like a massive collection of libraries are all under this heading throughout the UK. In March they announced that they were starting this new online book club, and I have actually been part of a physical book club in the past, but obviously with Corona that completely ended. We couldn't have face-to-face meetings, so it kind of fizzled out. So I think this idea of having like online forums and chats and stuff was really exciting, so I wanted to take part. And I don't really know too much about this book. I think that it's a World War II spy novel, which isn't necessarily something that I have picked up much, or I don't really know if it's a genre for me, like spy fiction, but it sounded interesting. I wanted to take part in this book club anyway, so I thought why not just give it a go. So yeah, I don't really know too much about that one. Let me know if you have read it and what you thought. Also, some may say this is a blue cover, but the lettering on it is red, so I'm counting it for the red on the cover prompt. Role number 3. A 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is a classic. And the prompt, there's 2 here. So the prompt, well that's easy, my owned TBR. Role number 3 was a classic from my owned TBR, and you're probably getting sick of this book, but I'm going to be reading the next chunk of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I am making my way through this, so I'm now on page 613, and I'm hoping to get to this little tab, which is 802, so about 200 pages, to keep on track with my plan, which was to read this in 6 months, and that has really been working for me. I've been putting this book off for so many years, just because I'm like, I cannot sit down in one go and read this behemoth of a book, but separating it into more manageable 200-page chunks a month has really worked for me. So if you're a little bit intimidated by like big classics, or just big books in general, I would definitely recommend separating them into sections, especially with a story like this, which I know very well. If you've watched the musical, I can kind of come in and out of it without losing the plot of the story or the thread. But yeah, I am really, really enjoying this one, and I cannot wait to continue. Role number 4. A 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A non-fiction. Interesting. And the prompt, a recent release from the last 2 years. Role number 4 was a non-fiction that was a recent release, which in my book is a release from the last 2 years. So a book that has been released since March 2019, is that right? Within that 2-year period, or April 2019. And this was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, because there are actually quite a lot of non-fiction books that I really want to get to, but a lot of them were published before that. So I did find one, which was In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a non-fiction written in an interesting format. So this is a memoir documenting the author's experience in an abusive relationship, a past relationship. But I think it's set into different sections that are almost like fictionalized accounts, but obviously they are based on fact, so it is a non-fiction. But yeah, I don't really know how to explain this because obviously I haven't read it yet, but I've heard some interesting things about the format and the style, and I definitely wanted to try this book at some point, so this prompt enabled me to pick it up. And then my extra role is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a fantasy, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A non-fiction. I'm definitely going with a fantasy. And the prompt is the cover matches the colour of my top. And then the final roll number 5, was a fantasy with a cover that matches the colour of my top. So I'm just going to stand up. My top is like, it has this grey, this blue, and then obviously the white section at the top. So I was trying to match this, and I don't know if this book entirely matches it, but it was the closest we were going to get, and that is Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. So this does have like some blue elements, it is more cream rather than white, but I guess it could kind of like go with the, does it go? I think it goes. So Fool's Errand is the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy, which is the next trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings. You've probably heard me talk about Robin Hobb if you've been following me on my channel for a while. I have been reading Robin Hobb over the past couple of years, and this is the next series that I need to get to. I am reading this for the Elderling Along, which is a book club hosted by Becca at Becca and the Books. She's reading the entirety of Robin Hobb, and I'm really thankful for that book club because I hadn't actually heard of Robin Hobb before Becca announced that book club, and I know she's like a really big author, but for some reason she just passed me by, and I don't know if I hadn't had that whether I would have even picked these books up. So I'm very glad that she's running that book club because I am loving these books so much. I think Robin Hobb is my favourite author of all time. That's a big claim, but I just love her writing, I love her worlds, and this series is incredibly exciting to me because this follows some characters from the original Farseer trilogy. I'm not going to say too much about the plot of this one because I think it does spoil the Farseer trilogy, but that one follows this boy called Fitz, who is the bastard son of the king in waiting, so the prince who is next in line to the throne. When his father finds out about his existence, he's kind of shamed into retirement and he abdicates the throne, and Fitz ends up getting raised by the stable master instead, and he later becomes enlisted to become an assassin. And there's a lot more politics, magic, but I love that series. I've loved the Lifeship Traders as well, which was the second series in this world. And to revisit some of the characters from the first series, I'm so excited. And this one is also not as chunky as the others. Robin Hobb is pretty much known for like her massive books, but this one I think, I mean it's still 600 pages, but it's a little bit less than I'm used to. But I'm so excited for this one, and I feel like this might be my next read after I've read Dracula. Yeah, I'm really excited to pick this one up. And then as always, I also have a couple of extra books that I would like to get to, and they are some ARCs, so advanced copies. And the first one is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This is a sci-fi, fantasy, something like that, following this woman who has escaped this, I believe it's an incredibly religious like cult or containment place. I'm not entirely sure, but she escapes and she is pregnant, and while giving birth to her kids there's some kind of metamorphosis or transformation going on. That is all I really know. I think the blurb is pretty vague, so I'm excited to just go into that one not really knowing too much. And then the final book that I would really like to get to is In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. This is a young adult fantasy, and I again don't know too much about the plot, but there were a few buzzwords in the synopsis that really piqued my interest. So you have a pansexual main character, there's blood magic, there's the world of the living and the dead, so the underworld, and skeletons. I don't know skeletons. Have I made skeletons up? But that kind of dark blood, magic and death with queer characters, which is something that I really want to read more of. So I'm hoping that I really enjoy this one. It is a young adult, which I haven't been loving young adult this year. So I'm hoping this one can kind of redeem young adult for me. But yes, that is my TBR for April. What books are you hoping to get to in the next month? And thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and to everyone out there, stay curious. Bye!